The greatest beer run ever. Vietnam, 1968. Late November 1967. In Wood, Manhattan. Doc Fiddler's Bar, 9:47 p.m. The cigarette smoke hangs thick under amber lights as John Chickie Donohue sits at the scarred wooden bar, fingers wrapped around a sweating glass of beer. He's 26, broad-shouldered, with the weathered face of a Marine Corps veteran now working the docks. Around him, the neighborhood crowd argues about Vietnam, the same argument that happens every night. They don't even want to be there. Someone shouts from a back booth. "You don't know what you're talking about," Colonel George Lynch fires back. "Those boys are doing their duty." Chickie thinks about the guys he grew up with, Tommy Collins, Rick Duggan, Bobby Pappas, Kevin McLoone, all of them over there now. Tommy's last letter mentioned the heat and ended with "could use a cold beer and a friendly face." "What those boys need," Doc Fiddler says, "is to know somebody's thinking about them." The words settle into Chickie's chest. He stares at his Pabst Blue Ribbon, cold, perfect. "I could bring them beer," he says aloud. Doc looks at him. "What's that?" "I could go over there and deliver it. I've got my merchant marine papers. Sign onto a ship, find them, give them beer from home." "That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard." "I'm gonna do it anyway." The next morning the idea burns brighter. Chickie makes a list. Merchant credentials, check. Ship to Vietnam, he'll find one. Beer, lots of it. Addresses for every neighborhood guy in country. His mother thinks he's insane. There's a war happening there. "I was in the Marines, Ma. I know what war looks like." She sighs, then gives him addresses. The neighborhood rallies. Parents provide unit information. Tommy with 1st Battalion, 4th Marines near the DMZ. Rick with 1st of the 9th near Da Nang. Bobby with the 173rd Airborne. Kevin on a Swift boat in the Delta. At Yorkville Beverage, owner Freddie Wiesner helps load 2 duffel bags with dozens of Pabst cans. "This beer's on me. Tell those boys to come home safe." On December 18th, Chickie finds a berth on the SS Drake, a cargo ship heading to Da Nang. The chief mate stamps his papers. "We sailed December 21st, 600 hours." His last night, Doc Fiddler pours him a beer. "Tell those boys this place will be here when they get back." December 21st, 1967, 5:43 a.m. Pier 36, Manhattan. The SS Drake sits low with cargo. Chickie walks the gangway with 2 duffel bags, one with clothes, the other clinking with 60 cans of beer. The ship's horn sounds, lines cast off, and New York recedes into gray morning. The Pacific crossing takes 23 days of endless water and sky. Miller, a deck crew veteran, tells him one night, "What you're doing matters. Those guys need to know somebody cares." January 14th, 1968. South China Sea approaching Da Nang. Vietnam emerges from haze, green mountains behind coastline dotted with beaches that would be paradise without the warships and smoke. The air smells of diesel, salt water, and jungle. Da Nang sprawls along the coast, military installations, warehouses, all connected by red dirt roads. Chickie goes ashore with both bags. At a USO trailer, an Air Force sergeant eyes him skeptically. 1st Battalion, 4th Marines there at Dong Ha, 40 miles north. Bad area. You need authorization. "How do I get there?" "You don't, not without orders." But Chickie finds a way. At the motor pool, Staff Sergeant Kowalski listens to his story, looks at the beer, and decides, "You know Dong Ha is taking fire almost daily." "I figured." "Rodriguez, make room in truck 3. The convoy rolls north on Highway 1. PFC Jessup from Oklahoma drives and talks nonstop. "You really brought beer from New York. That's the coolest thing ever." The landscape looks peaceful, rice paddies, villages, water buffalo, until you notice the bunkers, fighting positions, burnt vehicles. The last 20 miles are tense, everyone watching for ambushes that don't come. They reach Donohue at 17:45 hours. The firebase sits on red dirt surrounded by wire and sandbags. Artillery fires constantly. Chickie asks directions and walks toward 1st Battalion's area, his bags heavy but manageable. Then he sees Tommy Collins, older than 23 should look, utilities caked with mud. Tommy. Tommy turns stunned. Chickie, what the hell? Chickie pulls out 2 cold cans. Brought you something from home. Tommy catches one, starring, is this American beer? Straight from Yorkville, Freddie sends his regards. Tommy cracks it open, the PSSSHT impossibly familiar. He drinks, eyes closing, then opening wet. You came to Vietnam, you brought beer, you crazy son of a bitch. Other Marines gather. Word spreads. Some guy from New York brought beer from home. Chickie hands out cans. For 10 minutes, Donohue becomes a place where friends drink cold beer and remember normal. How'd you get here? Tommy asks. Merchant ship, convoy north. Figured you could use something from home. A corporal approaches. Sir, this is the best thing that's happened. We've been in the bush 6 weeks, constant patrols, and nobody back home seems to care. This is proof somebody does. That's why I came, Chickie says simply. Kowalski appears. Donohue, we're heading back in 30 minutes. Tommy hugs Chickie briefly. Thank you, you have no idea what this means. When I get home, first 100 rounds are on me. The ride back is quiet. Chickie's bag is lighter by 15 cans, but the weight of what he's done feels heavier. He found Tommy. He delivered the beer, but he's not done. Rick, Bobby, Kevin, they're still out there. January 17, 1968, Quy Nhon Harbor. The SS Drake anchors offshore. Chickie has worked his way south, still searching. At the Marine Liaison Office, a gunnery sergeant grins. You're the beer guy. Word came from Da Nang. Best story I've heard all week. I need to find Rick Duggan, 1st of the 9th. The gunny checks. They're at LZ2 bits 20 miles northwest, taking regular fire. There's a resupply flight at 1100 hours. I can get you on it, but it's dangerous. I understand. At 10:48 hours, Chickie boards a CH-46 helicopter loaded with ammunition and medical supplies. The crew chief, if we take fire, get on the floor. 15 minutes in, the crew chief opens fire. Tracer rounds arc toward jungle. Taking fire, the helicopter banks hard. Then they're over a ridgeline and clear. LZ2 bit sits on a scraped hilltop. The helicopter lands fast. Go, go! Chickie grabs his bags and runs. The helicopter lifts immediately. A lieutenant approaches. Who are you? Looking for Rick Duggan. North side, what you bring him? Beer, sir. Outstanding, carry on. Rick Duggan is cleaning his M16 when Chickie finds him. Rick looks up, cycles through disbelief. Chickie, how? Chickie tosses him a Pabst. Rick catches it, starts laughing. You flew into a hot LZ with beer, you're insane. They crack them open. Rick drinks, eyes closing. Tastes like home, like everything that isn't this. Marines gather for the remaining cans. They talk about New York, about streets and bars and normalcy. For 20 minutes the war pauses. A sergeant approaches. Captain wants you out on the next bird. Too much enemy activity. Intelligence says something big is coming. Rick walks Chickie to the LZ. You gonna find Bobby and Kevin. That's the plan. You're crazy, but thank you. This tells us we're not forgotten. That matters more than you know. The helicopter takes him back to Quy Nhon. As they fly, Chickie thinks about the warning. Something big is coming. He has less than 2 weeks before the Tet Offensive explodes. January 30th, 1968, 2:45 hours, Bien Hoa Air Base. Chickie wakes to explosions close enough that his cot shakes. He's on his feet instantly. An Air Force staff sergeant appears. We're under attack. Sappers breach the wire. Outside, the sky pulses with light. Mortars walk across the airfield. An F-100 explodes. Chickie dives into a bunker as rounds snap overhead. It's all over the country, an army captain says. Saigon, Hugh, Da Nang, everywhere at once. The Tet Offensive has begun. The attack lasts 4 hours. By dawn, Bien Hoa is secure but burning. Chickie has worked his way south over 2 weeks, delivering beers to other neighborhood guys, always moving, always searching. Now the entire country has exploded. February 2nd, 1968, Fire Support Base 12. It takes 2 days to arrange transport through the chaos. A Huey takes Chickie to FSB 12, where Bobby Pappas is with the 173rd Airborne. The pilot flies low and fast through smoke from a dozen fires. Bobby's eyes are red from no sleep when Chickie finds him. "How are you here? We've been in constant contact." Chickie hands him a Pabst. Bobby drinks like it's holy water. "This is the craziest, most beautiful thing anyone has ever done." Incoming mortars scatter them. When it ends, Bobby finds Chickie. "The Delta's a nightmare right now, but if you're going for Kevin, you're crazy enough to make it." February 4th, 1968, Tan Son Nhut Air Base, Saigon. The sprawling base still bears Tet's scars. Chickie wants to reach the Mekong Delta to find Kevin McLoone. A Navy lieutenant looks at him like he's insane. "The Delta, the VC are hitting everything that moves." "I've made it this far, sir." The lieutenant sighs. "Supply flight to Bin Thai in 2 hours. Your friend's boat might resupply at Ken though." The C-123 takes Chickie south over the maze of rivers and canals. At Bin Thai, a petty officer checks rosters. PCF-67 usually resupplies at Ken though. Convoy heading there tomorrow. February 5th, 1968, Route 91. The convoy, 3 trucks, 2 gun jeeps, runs into an ambush at 6:47 hours. AK-47 fire rakes the lead truck. Everyone returns fire. An RPG hits the lead jeep, flipping it. Chickie hits the truck bed flat while rounds snap overhead. The firefight lasts 4 minutes. 1 truck disabled, 3 wounded, everyone's nerves shredded. They reach Ken though at 9:30 hours. Chickie waits at the docks. PCF-67 arrives 2 days later at sunset. Kevin McLoone is securing lines when Chickie walks up. "Kevin." Kevin turns, confusion, disbelief, joy. Chickie pulls out the last 4 warm cans. "Brought you something from Doc Fiddler's." Kevin opens one and sits down hard, tears running. "We've been on patrol 6 days, 3 firefights, lost a boat, and you're here with beer from home." The crew gathers. They drink and talk about New York. Kevin asks, "How'd you get here through all this?" "Merchant ship, convoys, helicopters, talked my way onto everything. You're the last one. You crazy, beautiful son of a bitch. When we get home, you never pay for drinks again." They sit as the sun sets over the Mekong, turning the river gold. Artillery fires in the distance. The Tet Offensive rages on, but Chickie has completed his mission, found every friend, delivered every beer, reminded them they're not forgotten. Now he needs to get back alive. February 8th, 1968, Ken though Naval Base. Kevin arranges transport. Convoy to Bin Thai, then flights north to Saigon. "Chickie," Kevin says, "what you did, it matters. We're out there wondering if anyone cares. You showed up and reminded us some people do." The ride to Bin Thai is tense but clear. At Tan Son Nhut, the same Navy lieutenant smiles. "You made it back, found your friend." "Found him, mission accomplished." "Best news I've heard all week. There's a merchant vessel, the SS Columbia Eagle, loading at Cam Ranh Bay. Departs February 14th for San Francisco." "I'll take it." That night, Chickie lies awake listening to distant explosions. He thinks about Tommy at Donohue, Rick at 2 Bits, Bobby with the 173rd, Kevin on his swift boat. They'll still be here, fighting, long after he's gone. He came to remind them they weren't forgotten. But they reminded him of something too, the cost of this war, paid by young men who never asked for it. February 10, 1968, Cam Ranh Bay. The flight takes him to the massive port facility. The SS Columbia Eagle is loading equipment for stateside. The first mate stamps his papers. "We sail in 4 days. You'll work passage." Chickie spends those days working, loading cargo, the labor feeling good after weeks of dodging mortars. Other crew hear his story and treat him with respect and amusement. "You brought beer to Vietnam?" asks Deccan Martinez. "Really did. That's either the dumbest or smartest thing ever." February 14, 1968, Cam Ranh Bay. The SS Columbia Eagle weighs anchor and heads out. Chickie stands at the rail watching Vietnam recede. Mountains, beaches, warships, smoke. His duffel bags sit in his cabin, empty except for letters his friends gave him to mail home. He thinks about their faces when they saw him, the disbelief, the joy. The empty beer cans they held like proof that someone cared. It was a crazy idea born during a bar argument. It became something more. Loyalty, a reminder of home, proof that they mattered. The ship turns east for the Philippines and the long crossing to San Francisco. In his pocket, the notebook with all the names checked off. In his heart, the knowledge that he did what he set out to do. He'll go back to Doc Fiddler's and tell everyone about finding the guys, about delivering the beer, about what it meant. He'll answer questions and probably get called crazy again. But he'll know, and Tommy, Rick, Bobby, and Kevin will know, that when the world argued about whether their war mattered, whether they mattered, one man decided to do something about it. One man grabbed beer and crossed the world to say, "You matter. You're remembered. You're not alone." The coast disappears into haze. The SS Columbia Eagle cuts through blue water under clear sky. In the ship's wake, white foam spreads and dissipates, but the act, the absurd, beautiful, perfectly human act of bringing beer to friends in a war zone, will ripple outward in ways Chickie can't imagine. Years later, people will hear the story and smile. Decades later, it will become legend. Books will be written. A film will be made. But none of that matters as much as the moment itself. 4 friends holding cold beer in the middle of hell, reminded that someone from home loved them enough to find them. That's what Chickie Donohue came to Vietnam to do. And that's exactly what he did.